Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Get Ready. Very excited today to bring a new friend of mine on here, and let me tell you a bit about her. Dipal Shah is an award-winning international best-selling author and sought-after speaker. As a recognized expert in the field of energy medicine, spirituality, and mindset, Dipal is the creator of the Quantum Body Awakening Technique. Her globally taught course teaches individuals how to master their intuition and heal their bodies. Deepal has helped her clients create powerful and profound shifts inside and out, allowing them to find more joy and inspiration in all aspects of their life. Her mission is to empower women worldwide toward living authentically, finding happiness, and embracing the courage to live a purpose-driven life. All very cool stuff. Welcome to the show, Deepal Shah.
Thank you so much, Brad. It is so wonderful to be here. And I love the fact that we're matching.
Definitely in alignment here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Telepathy.
I,
Brad, we're purple.
I, I picked that up as I'm going through my closet. It's like, I think this is the shirt to wear today.
Exactly. We do that.
Yeah.
We're very intuitive beings, and sometimes the things we pick out, we don't realize that how our intuition's playing games with us.
Well, and that's exactly it. And we all have intuition, and so many people, some of us are more attuned to it because we've practiced it. And that's the thing is learning to have more intuition because it has so many benefits. So how did you fall into this field of medical intuition?
Yeah, so I used to be a pharmaceutical rep, and I like to say in my past life, because it was so long ago. But I worked in the pharmaceutical industry after I got my MBA and did my biochemistry degree. I decided that that's what I wanted to be, and I wanted to fulfill the dreams of many and heal people with my products. And that was the only way I knew that that was out there. And so as I started my journey into the pharmaceutical industry, I also was tearing down my body because of all the stress, right?
Yeah.
Working in the corporate world, it does get very stressful, and meeting the demands of the market, meeting the demands of the higher ups. And so, what it took a toll on my body for years, and all the traveling. I mean, I would go as far as 7 hours in one day just to get to one doctor's office.
Wow.
And so it took a toll on my body, and I realized things kept building up, building up. But this wasn't just when I started the job, it was building up since childhood, you know. And I just never knew how to take care of myself except pop pills. So I had tons of supplements, tons of Prevacid, Prilosec, and all those wonderful drugs. But later on, I found out that my body wasn't even receptive to them. And I was really in a place where I was almost depressed and sad the way my body was feeling. I didn't like getting up in the morning. And when I would go to the doctor's office, which was almost every month because that's how bad it was getting
Wow.
from top to bottom, I mean, it was all gastrointestinal issues. And so, I decided I'm going to stop my job. Okay, I'm going to stop working as a pharmaceutical rep, something that I had a lifelong dream about. And I completely left the system and didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I did know one thing though, Brad, was that I was going to heal my body, and it was going to be naturally, not even knowing how. I thought the chiropractic was the next natural path. So
Right.
I went to the chiropractor, and I met different chiropractors. There was an entrainment chiropractor. I don't know if you've ever done any kind of entrainment chiropractic work, but what they do is they manipulate the body, and they basically do energy healing. And I found it so fascinating that I was healing from that. And so I was like, well, is there more to this? And I found energy healers. So I went to them, and I felt great. I felt great anytime aches and pains and something showed up, and I would go to an energy healer. I was like, wow, they're like magicians. And I wanted to find out more because I was so intrigued. I'm like, what are you doing? So I learned Reiki, and I learned pranic healing and quantum touch and everything that I could learn out there. And I got certified. And And then I decided, you know what? It was almost like a calling, a new purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about intuition. I didn't know anything that people have these things where they have psychic abilities. And I now realize that we all have these. We just have to tune into them. Because in the corporate world or anywhere else, even in our regular lives, it's not normal.
Right.
It's not natural to be talking about angels and guides and tuning into spirits and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And really having foreseeing the future. I mean, that's like, how did you know that? Right. So I learned and I tuned into my own intuition, and I would play with things. I would play with when I'm watching TV, I'd be like, oh, I know what he's going to say next, or I know if she's going to say yes or no to the proposal, or I'd pick out numbers. And that's how I started. I was like, oh, I love playing guess the number. So I'd play different games with my intuition to try to build my intuition up. And then I started to see spirits, and I started to see guides and connect with my guides, and just so many things were happening. And I started to heal people. I started to see that I can help people that have hormonal issues to cancer. I mean, I recently just had a lady who has pancreatic cancer, and I'm helping her heal her body through this. And for
Wow.
the first time, she's like, Deeple, I slept last night. I had
Mm,
back pain because she's like, for months, I've had this horrible back pain. And she said it was so refreshing that I just wanted to lay in bed because I wasn't in pain.
yeah.
And so when you get clients that are receptive to healing and you're using your intuition to connect with their body, it's just so beautiful and so rewarding. And so I love being a medical intuitive. Of course, it was weird for my husband and my kids, like, oh yeah, she just does the blue. But I'm like, you can call me whatever, you can say whatever you want, but I know that I've even helped my family members, right? When we do healing work, and we're not doing it just for ourselves. I didn't just do it because I needed the help. Yes, I wanted to help myself, but I also wanted to help my family. And we saved a lot of trips to the doctor. Let's just want to say that. But it's just been a wonderful journey, and I feel like, here's the thing, Brad, what I realized from my entire journey is that our wounds that we have, right? The childhood wounds, and everybody has them, that we can turn them into wisdom. And Oprah says it herself, you can turn your wounds into wisdom. It's one of her quotes. And I just love that, because I feel like every wound that we have, just imagine what we could turn it into and help others with.
Yeah, it's along the lines of when Napoleon Hill said, every adversity has within it the seeds of an equal or greater benefit.
Exactly.
And being able to do that, that's recently I've been trying to play with this idea of anytime I see something that upsets me,
Yeah.
like somebody wearing an offensive t-shirt or something, I go, oh, thank you for this opportunity for growth. And I even saw somebody was wearing a t-shirt, and I played with the idea of this person in the morning said, oh man, I hate this t-shirt. I hate wearing this, but Brad needs a lesson today. So I'm going to put this.
It is so true. T-shirts really do trigger people. Even now, with a lot of stuff coming up around the election, and you see people with flags and different boards and different
Yeah,
stickers on their cars, and people really are getting triggered a lot right now. And this is when we need to go inside and really reflect on, okay, why am I being triggered? And we don't
exactly.
do that enough. We really
Exactly.
we don't talk to ourselves, and it's time to understand our own triggers and talk to ourselves, talk to our bodies. I feel like that is the key to healing, especially if you are on a healing journey and you don't understand, why am I having pain in my wrist? Why is it just lingering? Why does it just stay there and it's not going away, no matter how much, cream I put on it or how much I take care of it? But there's a reason for your pain, whether it's emotional, physical, mental. whatever it is, we have to understand our triggers because those triggers are the ones trying to teach us about our pain.
Yeah. And sometimes we feel like we will only be motivated by misery.
Oh, yeah.
So with the with election things and stuff like that, when I say, oh, well, I want to work to clear that part of me that's offended. And it's like, but what if you disagree with what that person is saying? It's like, I can still take the action I'm going to take. I don't
Right.
have to come from a place of I'm hurt. Maybe
Yes.
with the physical thing, it's like, well, maybe if I just take better care of my body in a more holistic way, rather than waiting until there's a pain, and it's like, well, now I better start doing something about this. I was actually working with someone yesterday about that. Sometimes it's not until we have to go to the doctor that it's like, I can get away with this. And we have this fear of, but if I feel peace when in my body or when I see things, then I'll just have no motivation. It's like, no, 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 no. You will be motivated to make things better. It's a question of getting rid of resistance. We don't
Yeah.
need more motivation. We just need less resistance and finding these ways. And yeah, what you're saying about intuition, we have that, but we're not taught to look at it. We're taught to look at facts and figures and things that are tangible. And this is what it is. That's in school. It's all about, numbers and this and not paying attention to that intuition. I,
No.
I
And a
I
lot
have
of
a
people,
video called Allowing Miracles, and someone wrote a comment this morning saying, still haven't seen any miracles yet. And I said, you haven't acknowledged any miracles yet.
exactly.
It's you if you have your clear vision, you'll see them all over the place. And I put the Einstein quote of, there's two ways to look at it, as though nothing is a miracle, as though everything is a miracle. What does it have to look like? How big a sign do you need before it's like, oh, there's right in your face?
Speaking of signs, I have to tell this story because it was my daughter, and she was in high school, and then her friends, and we were going to Wendy's to get a Frosty. And I told her somehow something came up about Jesus, and I said, honey, I swear I was born in the time of Jesus's time. I know I was there, right? And she starts laughing at me hysterically. And she goes, "Okay, mom, whatever." And all of a sudden, this big truck with Jesus goes by. And I'm like, "See, I told you so."
Well manifested.
I told you. It was the wildest thing. And I love telling that story because I'm like, look, like every time, actually, we're talking about manifestation. I'm scared of my thoughts because anytime I think something, it manifests. And so I have to be very careful. And we talk about this a lot. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers are hearing and listening to podcasts and things out where, especially if you're on a personal development journey, about how our thoughts create things, right? And it's true because it's all energy. Well, I'm to a point where in my life, because I practiced it so much, and wanting to manifest things in my life, that in the beginning it was kind of slow, and it didn't happen as I wanted, or it didn't happen. It happened differently, and it was okay. I accepted it. And now, like I said, I have to be scared of what I'm thinking because it comes true. So if I am thinking, oh, I don't want to go to a friend's house, well, some kind of interference will come through. I had one of my friends. I didn't want to go to her house. We were gonna have to drive 2.5 hours on a Sunday, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to drive that far on a Sunday. Lo and behold, the next day, well, that day as we're driving, an hour into it, my husband gets a flat tire, and and then what happened was that the next day I find out they all had COVID. So I've learned that I have to be careful of my thoughts and what I want because I want good. I don't want to hear that, oh, something, bad happened to somebody else because I didn't want to go somewhere. But we do have to be careful
But
of
you
our.
didn't create the COVID.
I
You
didn't
just you
create
you
it.
got a sign of
Don't go
I
there.
need a reason for
Exactly.
stopping. So it's funny that you talk about that fear of what's going to manifest. So we have a mutual friend, Bob Doyle,
Yes.
and Bob and I many years ago did a seminar called The Dark Side of the Law of Attraction, and talking about that fear of, well, if I can just create whatever I think about, what about the bad things I create?
Yeah.
And just this idea that yes, for most of us, manifestation is not instantaneous. It's not like
Yeah.
if I think $1 million, there it is in my hands.
Right.
If I think a flat tire, my tire goes flat. And so for the most part, we don't need to be afraid of that. And because we're not wholeheartedly trying to create that. We're not just because we have a thought, that doesn't mean that we're in vibrational harmony with that. And as you said, it's building up that intuition. So you're just more clear on there's something there that I need
Exactly.
to pay attention to.
Exactly. And I didn't know that they all had COVID, but I think that that energy and that low vibration must have somehow connected with me and I was just not feeling it. And so those are the things that happen when your intuition is strong, right? You feel things, you sense things, you may not understand it, but and especially at that time or even within days or weeks, but then it's going to unfold the way it's supposed to, and that's when you have to remember to be grateful to the universe for providing these messages, right? Every message I get, I'm like, thank you so much, because I needed that. Or it's great that I can connect in such a way that's going to either help somebody else, because there's been many times where I have suggested something to somebody else, right? We get people asking us questions, should I do this or should I do this? And people ask you these questions, or you might ask somebody else because your intuition might be playing games with you, right? We go into that logical mind a lot of times because we are very analytical beings. We're very logical. If it's not scientifically proven, we sometimes shy away from it or from our experiences, right? If we've failed in a business before, then we might be afraid to open up another business. And so this is where intuition plays a huge role, even in our entrepreneurs and leaders out there, right? Oprah says she uses her intuition all the time. Even Winston Churchill and a lot of other leaders. I mean, intuition has been there since Aristotle's time. We're now tracing it all back, saying, okay, well, what is it? And how do we differentiate between our thoughts and what is intuitive? And so if you really think about it, it's two different things. And intuition has a feeling, like a gut feeling, right? Thoughts, they just happen. You think so, it just comes and goes, it comes and goes. But intuition is something where you will feel the emotion of something coming through. And you'll know whether it's right or wrong, or whether to say yes or no. So it's very different.
And there are times where it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go with your gut. There have been times. So there was a big period of time where I was terrified of flying, and so there were a number of flights where beforehand I would just have, I should not get on this plane. I need to leave the airport right now. I should not get on this plane. And it felt like this is my gut, this is my intuition. And it's like, no, I'm on my way to do a workshop. There are people who have paid to be there. I need to be there. And the flight is fine. It's like, okay, so my gut hasn't always, what sometimes feels like a gut instinct. It's like, no, that's just a fear pop in and convincing me. And so
Exactly.
it's sometimes hard to tell. So how do you help folks differentiate between that?
So then I want you to really think about when these fears come up, right? Then just ask that question. Is this a fear, a belief? Is it because it's our past experiences that are just showing up saying, okay, this is something to be fearful of. And when the mind starts playing those tricks, that's when we say, okay, intuitively, like you just breathe. And I think breathing is a really great exercise. And I know, Brad, you teach tapping, so that's wonderful to use too, right? And so just acknowledging the fear. Sometimes our emotions just need acknowledgement. Okay. And if you didn't acknowledge it, it's going to keep getting worse. And I've seen that with myself too. So you're right, where you're trying to get on a flight or anything else and you're taking that big step that doesn't feel so comfortable, then can your intuition or fear play a role? And so acknowledge the fear, breathe, and then ask again, should I get on this flight? Should I get on this flight? And the very first answer, yes or no, will come through. And I've taught this exercise to many people because, when we're fearful of so many things, so many things. I used to be scared of dogs. Okay. And now I have a dog. I would run to the other side of the road or not even get out of my house if I saw a dog walking on the street because
Mm,
it was a fear. I had been bitten by a dog when I was 10. Not only that, but my mom had implanted this belief that dogs are going to bite you. So don't go near them. Because
mm,
in India, that's how it was. They were stray dogs, didn't have their shots, and they did bite. So from her experience as a child growing up there, she was speaking from that.
got
But
it.
here in the US, everybody has pets. And but for the longest time, and then about 7 years ago, my husband and my daughter finally convinced me to get a dog. But the only reason I was convinced is because I had to overcome that fear and tap into my intuition,
Yeah.
right? So the way I did it was acknowledge that fear. Okay, I am scared of dogs. And then I would say, okay, what am I going to do to overcome this fear? And I would try to go and get close to a dog. Every dog that I saw, I would try to say hello and not run to the other side. Or, I would literally tell myself, like I had to train my mind that everything is going to be okay. They're not going to hurt me. And it took like 2 years to overcome that fear because I had to keep exposing myself to that fear, right? That object,
Yeah.
that thing. So we have to keep exposing ourselves to
Too bad you
over.
probably didn't know how to tap at that point.
I know. I wish I did. And so I was grateful that that I was able to overcome it. But then my husband saw that I was able to overcome it, and now he wanted a dog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we have a beautiful little Maltipoo.
And
But
I've used that example in the past about when we have fears, we have programming as a child,
yeah,
something happens and we learn this is bad, this isn't safe.
yes,
And at a certain point, we may want to shift that. If your family wants, and I literally use that example, if you're have kids and the kids want a dog and you've had this childhood fear of dogs,
yeah,
you may want to get over that. If you don't have kids or your kids aren't into dog, it's like you don't need to worry about everything.
I
We don't
know.
have to clear up everything from the past if it's not a problem for us, but it's looking at those things that are.
Yeah, no, it
So,
was my kids.
yeah,
That's why I had to
yeah,
clear fear.
yeah,
But I had to
yeah.
clear a lot of fears, and you're right, it is beliefs, it's childhood limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
right?
So, so with your clients, you both use your intuition to help find what's there, and then also teach them how to be more aware of their intuition.
Exactly. So I have a lot of students that I teach quantum body awakening modality. And I created this modality because I found that it was very the frequency and the vibration and the tools and techniques that I was teaching helped me create this modality. As the students come through, they, initially they're lacking confidence. They're like, I don't know. Some of them say, I don't know if I even have intuition. Some of them have a knowing. Others have a fear of using their healing gifts.
Yeah.
And sometimes I call them gifts, but they're abilities, and we all have them. But I will take them from using their six senses to using their eight senses. And it's a program, it's a 3-month program, it's on demand. and one-on-one sessions. And we go through different processes of learning the tools and techniques of especially grounding your energies when you're healing, because a lot of healers don't tend to ground themselves enough to where they're anchored into Mother Earth, to where what happens is that they tend to have outer body experiences during a
Mm,
healing process.
yeah.
And so, in order to keep them stable and anchored, teaching them grounding techniques to help them, protection techniques to protect them. Because I remember my mom, she's like, oh, you're learning Reiki, but you're going to take on everybody else's energy. And I think a lot of healers are afraid, or people who want to learn healing are afraid to do that because they feel like they're going to take everybody else's stuff, right? And so I teach protection methods. And then I work with the Hara. The Hara is our line of purpose, our intentionality, and our creation. What do we want to create and manifest in our life? So, certain tools that will help you guide you through your life and really help you embrace and manage obstacles that and the challenges that come with life. And they're so powerful in the way that we teach the entire system of quantum body awakening that will help you and build more confidence. And then not only that, but as you build your confidence, you can create your own business, right? A lot of times when I did healing modalities, they would tell me, oh, you can now create your own business, but I never knew the how. And
Mm,
I felt not misled, but I felt like, okay, well, I don't have any support. And I
yeah.
didn't want healers to feel that they don't have any support to walk them through the entire system of how to get to a place where they can make money. And so I have the entire thing where you learn the modality. And then if you want to do the business program, you can do the business program. And I teach you from scratch up how to get onto summits, speak on summits, create your course, and how to speak, how to be ready for interviews. So I help them with all of that.
That's excellent because I can imagine that as folks are learning to have that intuition and helping themselves and then thinking, I want to help people with this. How do I do that?
Yeah. Well,
It's like,
so many
well,
people want to help others,
yeah.
but they just don't know how to get started, number one. And the web can be really confusing and overwhelming. Technology is
You
confusing
don't
and
say.
right? So let me help you get, and there's so many people, there's so many healers out there. And right now, we do everything remotely. So why can't we do energy healing remotely? Right? When COVID happened, everything was remote.
Yeah,
But even before that, Brad, I was doing everything remote anyway, because all of my clients are like in India or UK, all over the world.
right.
So it's beautiful that we can connect and still heal our bodies and learn how to be more intuitive.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things is getting more in touch with our intuition and having an opening to things that we've had blinders to,
Yeah.
that all the opportunities that are out there for health, wealth, and happiness that we've like, no, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Exactly. And I think, the most important thing that's always helped me was having a coach or a mentor, right? Even now I have a coach. And once that, or I have multiple coaches at once. So it's something that we need because that helps us in our business or helps us support us mentally. Especially if we want to grow, and we all want to grow in many different ways, and having a coach just helps support that goal, you know
Right.
and
Well,
so
so often left to our own devices, we'll take the path of least resistance, which is usually staying right where we're at.
yeah. And that's what's happened so many times. I'm like, oh, there are so many webinars, right? I'll just learn from that, right? I'll just take bits and pieces. And I'm like, this isn't working. And I did that for years.
I'm doing my due diligence. I don't know why it's not doing anything.
Exactly.
You're because you're brilliantly staying in your comfort zone.
Exactly.
And it's looking for that, clearing the resistance to seeing, okay, I deserve for things to be better, and I can have things better.
I
So
agree.
awesome, awesome. Well, I awesome. It's what you're doing is amazing. Folks can find out more about that in the links down in the description box below, and also at tapwithbrad.com/Deeple. And thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for sharing your insights with folks today.
Thank you so much, Brad. It's so wonderful to be here. And thank you, everyone, for listening in.